finance. Also a audit committee work sessions. So we'll start with public comments. I have two names, Alexis, I can't.
Bravo.
Arama.
That's me.
Please. If you want to come sit so you can pick up the microphone.
So I'm sorry this is out of the sort of general content of the meeting, but I felt like this was the best place to sort of get a comment shared to the people who should hear it. I'm a school nurse. I'm also a parent of two kids in the district. And I am not here to undermine the budget because I want my kids to have the resources that they need. I want their teachers to have the resources they need, but I need to share this. And I don't think I'm the only nurse in the district who has the sense that we are feeling pretty distressed about decisions that were made about the school health and wellness, the future of the health and wellness team, you know, the nurses essentially, losing access to the COSER, the health and wellness COSER that was serving the district. And we're losing a lot of things, which I made a comment on Tuesday and really shared specifically the things that we are losing. But what I also wanted to add to that comment was it's distressing that we were not in any way considered in the decision. No, it was a total shock to all of us to lose that COSER and access to those resources. And I think a lot of us could have said that the cost of nurses feeling unsafe and unsupported in their work is high financially, and it's also high for the most vulnerable students in the district who depend on us to keep them safe. And so I just feel like it's really important that we are included in decisions about the resources that we need as we move forward in the school health system at ICSD. Thank you.
Thank you. So Marina.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to say much more than what Alexis said, but my name is Maria and I'm also an ICSD school nurse. I've been here for 11 years. And I too was very concerned that we never knew about that there was a decision being made about the COSER. The people who we have hired or had hired to help us through TST BOCES are two people who have a very strong relationship with local healthcare providers. And to lose that, we certainly are up for getting a new medical director if that's what has to happen. However, they may not have this incredible wealth of years in the community and deep relationships and knowing all the students. Some of them had our students as their patients when they were practicing professionals or providers. What was the other thing that I wanted to say that I totally went blank. Oh yeah, that several years ago we lost our lead nurse. She retired, and we were all trying to figure out if we wanted to be the lead nurse, but it was not a separate entity, a separate job. It was that we still had to run our own buildings and be a lead nurse. And the way that the payment was happening was so distressing to me that I considered being the lead nurse, but the way that the previous lead nurse did it was that anything over her day, her normal school day, she put on a timesheet. It felt very disrespectful to the job of being a lead nurse. So we've been without a lead nurse. So you take our COSER away. We have an absence of a lead nurse. We have to email each other asking about clinical and our director of wellness is now director of wellness and athletics, and she has no clinical experience. She's not a provider. So we are running as a, I don't even know what the word would be. I mean,
You don't have a clinical supervisor.
Yeah, just essentially you just ripped all of these clinical supervisors away from us. Not that we won't have a medical director eventually. And fortunately, like, we're all like really like experienced nurses. However, to be able to refer to like all of the complexities, the needs of our students are just increasing as years go by. We have to do catheters and diabetics and tube feedings, and this is not just like Johnny comes in for a Band-Aid. We have like very complex students, so the time is of the essence right now. We need to be consulted when decisions like this are made. It feels so upsetting to me. Feel very devalued. So that's what I wanted to say. I really would love, like Alexa said, I would like to be considered the next time a decision like that had been made. When they're made, we need to be consulted. What do we need to support these really high acuity cases that we have in our schools? It's amazing. So that's all I wanted to say. So thank you.
Do you have any?
My comment would be, well, thank you very much for sharing this, and to get a better perspective, I would need to hear from administrative staff as to what exactly transpired.
Yeah, I think my response is the same. Let us look into this. I don't have the information to respond to you accurately yet. This is an issue we're just learning about, but let us look into it and try to get the correct information and get back to you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to go ahead.
But don't let this deter you to vote on Tuesday.
Yeah, we certainly want to support.
Yes.
But I could maybe add this potentially as an agenda item. It could be a part of the superintendent's report. And I can ask Mary Grover and Carrie Burke and some others to come. Cause maybe we could talk about history, what I'm hearing just in the time I'm sorry I was a little tardy. But the supports and the program that was spoken of are supports and programs that we designed. In fact, the individuals were part of the design process that we endorsed. Now that process then moved as part of a grant, a significant grant that we got from New York State. It moved to BOCES so we could access COSA funds and get reimbursement. That grant is no longer coming our way. The cost for the program running through BOCES tripled, if not quadrupled, for us next year. So our commitment was to, as it started, to bring it back in-house. And in no way to move away from any of the services, but probably to enhance those services. Now I'm talking about the structure and the system, which from my perspective, and Mary Group is much better about this now, because I've had questions about it. I had questions about when it went to BOCES because I didn't want it to, because we had a great thing going here, including all of y'all. And when we accessed the COSA, it was strictly for the ability to access the state aid funds coming back. And and because of the grant, it was a good model for us financially. And it's a model that we would never move away from because it's so successful. And without the grant funds, it's better for us, like a lot of programs, to bring it back in-house. Now, I'm talking about structures and systems. I'm not talking about an individual. Because we get into personalities and individuals, and I've been hearing about the conversations and the phone calls that have been occurring. We're talking about people and personalities. I'm talking, my level, I'm talking about the system. And y'all hear me, I've only ever been supported and added money. And whether or not we can fill positions or if somebody's qualified, like all that, but in no way are we diminishing the supports and the structures. Frankly, we're adding more and we're bringing it in-house.
Thank you.
But let's be clear, I won't talk about individuals and personalities, but I will talk about the monies. And for us, we've always been, again, I'm sitting here, a person who has been a part of the designing the program that y'all are advocating for. Let's be clear, we probably didn't include y'all as much as we probably should have in the designing of that program, because I heard when it went to BOCES, there were questions about that. How dare you send that to BOCES? That's our program in-house. And at the time, once we explained it, it was about finances and enhancing the structures, accessing the grant. And now that it's coming back in-house, it's going to be an enhancement to our program offerings from my perspective. Again, not talking about individuals. Anyway, that's probably more than I probably should have said publicly right now, but I'll ask the experts to come in and talk more next week.
Yeah, that's what we're asking for us to be references for what it's.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we don't have a general meeting next week. It's the election. So the 26th would be the next meeting. Would you want should we put this as a separate agenda item or do
No,
we do it as part of the superintendent's
But
report?
I never want to dictate the board's agenda, but I do have access to that on the agenda myself, so maybe the superintendent's report.
Okay,
And I can bring my team in and we can talk through this, and it could be more of a discussion just led by us and how we put a budget together.
okay, is that,
That'd be great.
Great, thank you so okay, much. That's what we'll do then.
Thank you for giving us time.
Great, next up is approval of minutes.
So I read the minutes and approved.
I approve too. Thank you. Facilities discussion, Travis.
Certainly. Thanks. Again, I'm Travis Randall with Campus Construction Management Group. We're overseeing the construction projects that are ongoing. I do have a brief PowerPoint, just some photo updates of construction that's from my last report last month. So here most of the work that we've had ongoing is again been at the high school STEM additions. They're getting close to being ready for turnover and owner occupancy and kind of moving in the equipment and whatnot. This first photo is just the concrete sidewalks were placed. This is gonna provide a lot of space for student pickup and drop off with the asphalt paving that'll be going in at the very beginning of next month. This next photo, not super exciting, but dumpster pad, it's important. So this is where the dumpster will sit near where it's traditionally sat before we did the construction work. Obviously we got some bollards around the dumpster to protect. There's also a fence going in on 3 sides of the dumpster that will kind of block the sight lines. This next photo that I have is the aluminum curtain wall framing that's going. This is on the STEM edition that's connecting, the physics edition that's connects the STEM wing to the athletic wing. So we have a lot of glass in there for sight lines. The idea being that students could congregate if it's inclement weather, cold outside, rain and whatnot, snow. And then kind of parents, caregivers come to pick up the students and then they can kind of see in and out. And we have the doors there. So for some of the after school programs, code red and whatnot. Next photo, this is inside of that same edition, the physics edition. Just kind of the completed ceilings that have gone in that classroom. You can see we have kind of fancier lighting scheme. There's a large open section of the ceiling that will allow for experiments to happen and also gives the opportunity to hang stuff from the ceiling while you're working on labs and whatnot. This next photo, which I think is the last photo that I have, this is again just the aluminum curtain wall kind of window framing inside the advanced manufacturing room. And this kind of line of windows adjoins the corridor that connects kind of from between area C and E and into kind of the cafeteria. So that corridor right out there is going to become more of a busy thoroughfare. So we wanted to give sight lines so that curious students would be able to see into the advanced manufacturing lab and kind of just even if peripherally have exposure to STEM that's going on. Right, one more photo. This photo, again, not super exciting, but is an important aspect that we've got put in. This is a roof access door at Enfield. So the other door, the old door was a metal door, was deteriorated, rotted and rusted out and didn't seal well and whatnot. So we installed aluminum frame and FRP door that stands up to the weather much better and much more sound.
Was it a fire door too?
No, I don't believe this requires a fire rating just because it goes to the outdoor. It's an exterior, essentially an exterior door. So
Right?
yeah. So we are excited about the STEM space getting closer to turnover. We're installing a lot of finishes in there and we're planning for, you know, like I said, owner move in June. And there's been some discussion of a ribbon cutting before the fall semester starts, or maybe right when it starts. So
Questions?
yeah, any questions about the ongoing construction?
We spoke yesterday morning.
Yeah,
So,
always see
yeah, so I'll ask my questions then. I guess I would just point out that we've done a number of tours of the STEM wing, and I just want to acknowledge Travis and Chris, your help with that. The tours went well. And Dr. Bryman, thank you for your help. So the three of you, thank you very much for doing that. It went well. Thanks. So if there's nothing else, thank you for the update. And we will turn to the audit and finance discussion. Dr. Lisi, do you really do that?
I will give it a shot.
All right, so I'm gonna hand the floor to Dr. Lisi for.
I wonder.
Am I skipping past?
In that improvements to wellness suites are part of the capital project. I was gonna try to say. But I missed my moment.
Well, they're still there.
Could
Could you come just?
Improvements to the wellness, you guys like what?
The project that is proposed that's up for a vote along with the budget includes, as you can look back at multiple presentations, it includes improvements to wellness suites in various. So
Yeah,
one
without
without
building.
That's okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for. No, I mean, that's, I should have caught that myself. Thank you for pointing that out, that I didn't make the connection. Thank you. Dr. Lisi,
Very
floor is
good.
yours.
All right, thank you so much. I can't compete with the roof door access.
You don't have anything exciting like that?
I'll try. So we'll start with our independent external auditing services. You know, we issued an RFP for that service, and it looks like we will have Insero as our external auditor. They were the only respondent, so they'll be with us again. And Emily, lead us into the next one.
Yeah, and if we're still here in a half hour, we might have Dwayne coming in, but with the fact that Insero will be appointed by the board at the next 26th.
Okay.
We figured since we are bringing the audit committee in, we would kind of jump ahead and have them come in and do their preliminary communication with the audit committee about the upcoming audit in the summer. Basically, everything is spelled out in the letter that was attached to the agenda today about how they review and what they're reviewing in the audit. They do the extra class, they do the financial, and then they go into the it's used to be called a single audit, it's called something else now, and I'm forgetting what's uniform something. But it's basically the old single audit that they used to focus on with the grants that are over a certain dollar amount. I understand there is a new program they are using, so when COVID came about, things went more online and they had a new program at that time, and they now upgraded that program, so we'll be dealing with that. We do a combination of in-house auditors here for a couple weeks, and that usually ends up being at the very end of August, first week of September. They're gonna be coming in for 2 weeks straight. And then prior to that, we are throwing a lot of information into the online service for them to start their review in-house in their offices. So really what I would just say is review this letter that they have sent along. It really does spell out everything that the external audit, financial auditors do for us. And I'm not sure we'll still be here at 5:30, but I don't really think it's necessary to have Dwayne because it really is very, very well documented here. So that is that part.
Can
Okay,
I make
Yes,
just a
go ahead,
feedback
Karen.
on, because
Sorry.
especially since the beginning of the letter, it talks about effective communication. And when I know at several point, at the beginning of the audit, you normally reach out to the board. It would be good to be forewarned when that is
Okay.
coming, so that you don't think it's a spam. when
Okay.
they're coming.
absolutely. I will make sure that they're aware of that and yeah, that is a key part of the audit. They do reach out to board members and audit committee members, I believe. So I will make sure that you guys have that information in advance. Any other questions about that? Okay. We also received our quarterly reports to bring us current on the claims. Courtney was willing to be here this afternoon with us. However, I wasn't exactly sure of the timing of all of this. So I asked her to give me all the information and the biggest thing on the 3 quarters, so this would have been the first quarter last summer. And then in the fall, and then this latest quarter that ended on March 31st, and all the claims auditor. As you know, when we do our warrants every week, everything is reviewed by the claims auditors to identify any kind of deficiencies or issues that they find. And on these quarterly reports, it's kind of a broad review of what they found. The biggest thing is in POs being processed after the date of invoices. So and all 3 quarters together, we had 154 POs that were issued after the services for a number of reasons. The bulk of it ends up being athletics. And this has to do with coaches we started using. It used to be much worse. 43 of these POs were from athletics. And a lot of that is coaches, or umpires, or the umps that what do they call the referees that do the games. A lot of that has been squashed from using a service called Arbiter Pay. So we were able to pay the service and that flows a lot better, but there are still certain sports that don't flow through Arbiter. So when our teams are doing better and they're going into, we get a lot of these last minute setups for events and these refs coming in, and we don't get the detail for who we need to pay until after the event has already happened. So it's within a day or two after. It's something that's always going to happen, unfortunately. So but the bulk of it is athletics. Some of it is special education. That's probably the next highest. And interpreters are another thing that we have a hard time. We don't know what interpreters we need and when we need them. So it's really finding those people, and then quite often after the fact, we're cutting the PO to pay these people for the service that they gave the child the day before or 2 days before. So there's, and then there's just some that people forget to put the POs in, and we know that, but it's very limited on those types of things. Most of them, some of them are capital project. And I'll take the hit on that one. Usually what I do is capital project contracts are actually approved in advance of us starting the service with these. So they really are approved. I wait until I get the first pay-ups so I can set up the POs properly, having all that information in front of me. But capital project work is always approved prior to the PO actually being cut anyway. So those are the big items in the POs not being approved prior to the invoices. We try to review it every time, and we try to go to the schools and say, hey, we do the best we can. In the grand scheme of things, over 3 months period with all the number of POs and payments we process through this district, this is pretty minimal. And again, the bulk of it would be the athletics, which is not going to be easy to stop from happening because of the way it happens. So any questions on that?
We are tax exempt, right?
Yes.
We are,
Because
however, there are a few. So there are a few on there that noted that there were tax paid on credit card purchases. Sometimes this, in most cases, this is when folks are traveling and they're using the BMO or a credit. Most of the time it's the BMO now. And they're having the meals as they travel. They have tax exempt forms with them. Some of the restaurants just will not accept them. They stop at a fast food restaurant, the McDonald's worker, just use that for an example, aren't gonna know what to do with the tax exempt form. So in those cases, it's mostly on meals. If something is charged for tax on something, we usually go back, and a lot of times Debbie Brown, where's our AP person, gets those taxes removed. We have to pay them up front. Otherwise, we would be late on the payment, and then we have those credits come back in. So they're gonna show up on this, whether we recover them or not. They're always gonna show up on these quarterly reports because they're looking at that moment in time. There were a few items where things were charged. We recover those monies. I think there was one that was chapstick by a bus driver that was out. So that money has been recovered. And I think there was one write-up for a cake. And that actually had to do with the curriculum that one of our elementary schools were doing during the month of February to celebrate Frederick Douglass's birthday. So it was part of the curriculum, and we did question that. They pushed back on it and we allowed it.
So I'll just quickly comment, if someone's asking about our audit processes, we caught $4 chapstick and.
Yeah.
So.
The
It's very comprehensive.
And we're very transparent about it.
Yeah, very,
Yep,
very, right.
Courtney is very, very thorough in what she does, so there's no question there, so. Everything is down to that, so there are no other questions on that.
I'm sympathetic to that. I also am supposed to, when I make purchase for my paid job,
Yes.
I'm also supposed to avoid sales tax, and sometimes it's just not practical.
Yeah.
It just, especially on doing something online, for example, you just no mechanism to.
Yeah.
Submit the certificate, so I'm sympathetic to that. On the PO and invoice issue, to summarize it, I'm guessing you have a couple of students in the room, maybe, and I want to say to them, congratulations for coming on audit day.
Yeah.
You chose wisely. This is you get to hear about roof doors and audits, but the issue, I'm gonna state this, tell me if I got it right. A purchase order requesting a service should be issued prior to the service being rendered. So the PO then goes through the approval process, the district office, it ensures that it's a legitimate expense, that we have funds to cover it, and then only after that process has gone forward are the services actually rendered. But what we just heard is that on some occasions it's just not practical, especially last minute events like games. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yep.
So that then causes a deviation from accounting best practices, so that we have a invoice that is dated prior to the purchase order.
My only other question, and this is more just for background than for having concerns, is when you say that the greatest number of these, the PO issues was in athletics and then maybe followed by special ed, does the number of POs roughly correspond to the dollar amount of these? Because some of these are very small, very immaterial amounts, and then others are a little bit more concerning, like the 51,000 and 50,000, so is the athletics also the greatest dollar amount, followed by special ed, followed by other little things?
You have to go and ask me a question.
Sorry.
I did not.
That's
okay.
what accountants do.
I actually have all of this here. So probably the larger ones you're seeing may have been when those capital project ones hit. Because they would be large dollar amounts on the POs. I actually have all the backup here. I'm glancing at it to see if anything really stands out. It could also have been some of the special ed.
Okay.
I would say the athletics, probably not. The most POs, yes, but they don't win as far as the amount.
Yeah.
Special ed services can run a little bit higher
Yeah.
too, but I would say probably on the larger ones you're seeing are when those capital project ones hit.
Okay.
Okay.
That was just more for background.
Okay.
Are we wrapping up on items 5 or no?
We have one more.
One more,
on that.
okay.
Yep, the audit committee asked for a historical overview of some of the areas that have been audited previously. So we provided a list, and I can't quite say it, but it goes back all the way to 2012, right? And so I think at the last audit committee meeting, we suggested it's probably time for a purchase audit. So that seems appropriate at this time, considering what's happened already. Again, that's up to the audit committee in terms of what they want to look at, but that would be our suggestion.
Well, I don't think they can, they're coming Monday.
Yeah, they're gonna, no, there you go.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But going forward,
Yes.
obviously, we have those 3 blank lines, so we'll wanna make sure that we, yeah.
There's always next year.
Sorry. At our last meeting, the audit committee talked about how we would like to put together a schedule of what we think is coming in the next 3 years instead of kind of at the time of making a decision, we're sort of figuring it out then. We want sort of a longer term plan of what areas to look at. So we'll talk about it the next audit.
Yeah, we can do that probably, that will probably
October.
be in October unless we wanna convene earlier to review this year's audit, the internal audit. But it might be in October. And by then it'll be a good time. We can maybe communicate with you guys in advance of that. I guess that's it.
That's it. Thank you.
Great,
And then we have the consideration of accounts.
please, and Emily, you're gonna, we'll do that.
Treasurer's report, yeah, it's the end of the year. And we're gonna be having, I mean, this would be the treasurer's report for March. So this is probably April, you'll see larger numbers, and then coming in May, you're gonna see those numbers dwindle. So school districts run on a budget, so every year, I'm gonna talk to the students here. So every year we start out, and when we start out in July. We have no money, basically over the summer, we're scraping by because our budget is done, our school year is done by June 30th. And then we start collecting taxes in October. We get a little bit of state aid in September, the taxes start coming in, and then we start doing all of our investing. At this time of year, we're kind of coming back down again. We got some big payments coming up for BOCES and last June payments for all the teachers and all the staff that are leaving for the summer. That's where we see us come back down again, normal for a school district. So there's nothing really to report of any kind of magnitude on the treasurer's report. We had a CD come due right at the beginning of April for our reserves, and that was reinvested. The rates are pretty much holding. Feds have held off right now. They toppled a tiny bit from when we were doing this in the fall, but so nothing really to report on that. We have our food service P&L, and just before the meeting, I reached out to our food service director and asked her if there was anything that she wanted to point out, and she said, no, not really. It's kind of the standard for this time of year. I am still working on pulling the money for the grants. That has been a very difficult thing to do. The site is giving me a lot of problems. We report this is the FDA grant that the food service department has secured. And you go into a portal, you put it in, and then Doge comes back and asks you for more information, and their portal does not support the information I need to give them. So we're going back and forth. I will eventually have that money coming in, but we're reporting on the quarter. So we have our transfers. Again, this is finishing up some of our salary settlement and shifting funds around to support where the people are actually getting paid and when shifts happen during the year. Also supports the special ed, shifting money from the special ed into contractual for staffing that we do not have right now in certain areas and that we're having to contract out. So you'll see a lot of money coming out of salary codes and going into that contractual code for the special ed. We have a couple of 3 cleaning machines from maintenance that we're surplusing. Broken, old, not usable. That's about all I got on those. We have a health and welfare service contract for one student who is attending a private school in the Corning Painted Post school district, and to pay for the services, the nursing services, speech services, any kind of services that they provide to that private school that we must reimburse for our student that's attending there. We have some appropriations that we received a $1,000 donation from the Enfield PTA for the food pantry in Enfield. We received, another IPEI grant. Moving stories, that we're appropriating into the budget. And I'm gonna speak to that in a second. And we received, can't remember what this one is. This was from the high school student activity to Beverly J. Martin for support of some of the STEAM lab work that they do over there. And then we also received a payment from our insurance company for a bus that was totaled when a plow decided to scrape down the side of it on Route 13, I think it was. So we'll be replacing that bus, so we need to appropriate the money to replace that bus. It was a 2020 bus, I believe. The other thing I am doing, and I don't think I have it here in front of me, is we are changing the way we're gonna be doing the IPEI grants. We're gonna save IPEI a little bit of, they're so gracious to us, we're gonna save them a little bit of legwork on these grants. Instead of writing checks for every single grant, what we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna be accepting the grants, acknowledging the grants. So there's a resolution that acknowledges a bunch of new grants that we just received from the IPEI. But we're not gonna be getting the funds from them until after we've expended the funds. And this will actually make the flow much better as we cross over fiscal years and grants haven't been utilized. Instead of having to try to figure out what hasn't been utilized out of each and every grant, we won't be asking for the money from them until the grant money has been spent. So we'll be covering it and then recovering it, kind of like we do with the New York State and the federal grants. We do not get money from the state or the feds until we've actually spent the money. And this will just make the flow a lot easier, and it'll cut IPI's check writing. They'll go down to like 4 checks a year as opposed to the numerous amount of checks that they cut for us. So that's the difference. That one for the IPEI was a check we had already received, deposited, so it needs to be appropriated. Now we're going on to the new method with this new group of grants that we're receiving from them. And Indy was very happy to make this change, I think. At least he opted left place. So we have a secret resolution for the bleacher and shower room project at the high school. And then we have a recommendation to, I can't have that in front of me, the recommendation to appoint Tatum. Oh, here it is, as commissioning services. And I think the only outstanding thing would be the resolution to recommend Insuro as our external audit going forward.
Dwayne is on now.
Dwayne is on now, so if we want to have him speak to his letter, we can do so.
I don't see need unless Karen goes. No.
Do you want that?
No, it's a really straightforward.
Okay, Dwayne, he's off the hook. And I covered it for.
Can everybody hear me? Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Agenda setting. Mouse
Well,
is,
just the wellness is discussion from public comment will be moving on to 20.
yes, thank you, Brian. So that's an important issue. And so, we need to get, well, I think Dr. Brown bring the information to us. I guess maybe before we adjourn, I just want to acknowledge the generosity of the Enfield PTA, and as always, acknowledge the generosity of IPEI, these fantastic grants, and also for their hosting a forum last night. So
And tonight they co-host.
Oh, the co-host, that's right. So IPI has and continues to generously contribute to education in the community. We acknowledge that. Anything else, Karen?
The other agenda item will be the for the audit committee. We'll be setting the internal audit next time we meet with the audit committee.
Setting the next 3.
Setting the next 3 years of audits.
And I just want to apologize for me being a little tardy today, and I was about to text Karen and say I'm gonna be a couple minutes late, and then Karen texted me and said she'd be a couple minutes late, and it's just the two of us, so apologies to making you wait, but I hope that the very exciting audit discussion made up for the delay. Yeah. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Yeah, and Karen will sign